Fifth grade, we're ready for language lesson 162. Today we are going over how to find complements in a sentence. So turn to page 285 from yesterday's lesson, and we're going to go over the steps to find complements. Now, the first thing we do in this is to underline the verb twice. Look for the verb, underline it twice. To find the subject next, we ask who or what to find that, and then underline the subject once. Next, we're ready to find a complement. So say the subject and verb together and ask what or whom to find your complement. Now, the next thing is we need to figure out what kind of complement it is. So in order to do that, we're going to look at your verb and see if your verb is action or linking. Now, this is very important for you to remember because this will help you to identify your complements. Think about your direct objects and indirect objects. What kind of verb do indirect objects and direct objects follow? Do they follow action verbs or linking verbs? Direct objects and indirect objects always follow action verbs. They do not follow linking verbs. So be very careful. If your verb is action, you will not have a predicate nominative or a predicate adjective after it. It's going to be a direct object or an indirect object, or both. Now, what about predicate nominatives and predicate adjectives? What kind of verbs do they follow? Predicate nominatives and predicate adjectives follow linking verbs. They do not follow action verbs. If you have an action verb in your sentence, you are not going to have a predicate nominative or predicate adjective after it. They only follow linking verbs. And remember, our linking verbs are the list of being verbs, am, is, are, was, were, be, being, been, and the list of sometimes linking verbs. Taste, feel, smell, sound, look, appear, become, seem, grow, remain, and stay. Those are your sometimes linking verbs. And predicate nominatives and predicate adjectives come after only linking verbs. So, now that you have your verb, if you know it's action, direct or indirect objects will follow it. If you know it's linking, predicate nominatives or predicate adjectives will follow it. Now, how do you specifically find a direct object? So if you have your subject and verb and you know it's action, ask what or whom to find your direct object. An indirect object answers to whom or for whom, or to what or for what. So if you say, she gave me a cookie, she gave me what? She gave me a cookie. That's the direct object. If you're wondering about the indirect object, she gave the cookie to whom? She gave it to me. So that is the indirect object. Now, what about predicate nominatives and predicate adjectives? How do you tell which is which? So if you know you have a linking verb, you might have predicate nominatives or predicate adjectives after it. So find your complement. Predicate adjectives describe the subject, and that makes sense because adjectives are describing words, right? Now, predicate nominatives rename the subject. And a good way to remember that is that nominative starts with N and name starts with N. Predicate nominatives rename the subject, okay? So you could say, my name is Miss Dolsfuss. Miss Dolsfuss is renaming the subject name, okay? Or you could say, the puppy is playful. Is playful renaming the puppy? No, playful is describing the puppy. So playful is a predicate adjective. Adjectives describe, and predicate adjectives describe your subject. So if you get stuck on finding complements and figuring out what kind of complement it is, turn to page 285 in your language book, and it will tell you how to find them. Now, in your lesson today, on page 288, you are working a lot with finding subjects, verbs, and complements. You have many complements to find, and you need to figure out what kind they are. So think about the things we went over today, and look on page 285 if you get stuck. Now, in the box at the bottom of your page, it talks today about how, just like verbs and subjects can be compound, complements can also be compound. You can have compound direct objects, indirect objects. You can have compound predicate nominatives and predicate adjectives. So look at that box to see some examples of that. Now, on page 289, think A is your homework. as well. Think B is not for today, but think A is for today. You're labeling your verbs action or linking. Your subjects, you're labeling those, and then you're finding your complements and labeling them the kind of complement they are. This may take a bit of time. You have a lot of complements to find, but remember, you can always look back to page 285 if you need help on the steps of finding your complements. Let me know if you have any questions. Work your lesson very carefully, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.